Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother 28 Roundtable podcast. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and we are here today to talk about everything going on the feeds of Big Brother 28 this week and to rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they are doing in the game and what we call the Stockwatch. With me to talk through all things Big Brother 28 this week, it's Melissa. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great. What a week. I was just telling Taran about how insane it is that they were up till like 4:30 in the morning doing all this stuff. But I guess that is the way of Big Brother, and you just have to adapt. So this has been a wild week, and so I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yes, and there's plenty to talk about, and joining us to talk about it all is Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
I'm doing good. I'm always grateful to get here in the early goings of the Roundtable season because there's still so much in the air. And whilst we're going to have numbers that might end up being similar, there's so many different reasons to look at them. Whereas by the time we get to the end of the season, I know what I expect from these people. I still don't know what to expect from half these folks, and I'm actually here for it. So excited to be here to talk about that with you all.
Yes. Well, this is the game plan. We're going to do a brief recap of what's been happening on the feeds this week to this point. Then we are going to talk through some of the more interesting things that have been going on. And then I sent out a survey that the audience has filled out with all kinds of opinions on the season, on the week, on the players. And we'll look at those results, and then we'll also rate the players ourselves, and we'll have a good time. I am closing the surveys a little early. That's because I'm working on some data visualization and I need the results to be final when we start the podcast. So I apologize to those that did not get it in time this week, but try to fill it in as soon as you can in future weeks. Let's talk about it. Let's give a quick recap here. Of course, the last time we spoke on the Roundtable, the nominees it was last week. D was still HOH. There was a brief flip to keep Ashley, but as we all know, didn't work out. Ashley got evicted unanimously, followed by a Devens HOH, who was then subsequently convinced to backdoor Rome, take a big shot. We haven't seen it in the episode yet, but there's a bunch of fallout that happens once Devens nominates Melody, Lyric, and Jason. Including a lot of sobbing from a lot of people. Devens then went on to win the veto. And initially, the obvious plan was to use the veto on Melody, but instead, he was convinced, as were many people in the house, including Dee and Haley and Chuck, at least temporarily. Haley flipped back once Kama talked to her, and then flipped back again once Angela and Dee talked to her again. Convinced to use the veto on Lyric instead in favor of a potential deal with both Lyric and Rome. And intermingled within that was this fake notion that they'd broken up, which was an intentional ploy by the two of them. Devens kind of falls for this initially, though they now know it was mostly a ploy. But still believes in the deal that he could make with Lyric and Rome. So he decided to use the veto to take Lyric off the block and replace her with Rome, with still the intention of voting Rome out in the event that Rome does not win the blockbuster. So Rome is now on the block with Jason and Melody. If Rome does win the blockbuster, Jason is the agreed upon backup target. However, that's not entirely locked in place for many reasons, including some being that there are some people that would almost prefer to remove Jason over Rome. And there are some people, D, who are really still looking at Melody and potentially wanting Melody gone in certain circumstances, or maybe all circumstances. So in my opinion, the block is still very much live here. And we are just kind of waiting to see really what happens with the blockbuster, but also what happens with the campaign over the next few days. Because while I do think it's unlikely that Rome will go into the blockbuster in a completely safe position, the scenario where he wins that blockbuster, especially, is a potentially interesting one: Jason versus Melody. So that's about what we got, Melissa.
Yeah. Certainly not where I thought this week was going to be going. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like after last week, I thought for sure the like the vets or whatever had this on lock and that they were just going to steamroll the rest of the season because they were that good. But I just feel like, I don't know if they're that good. I feel like kind of confused. It feels odd to me that they did that whole thing where they were all in the room. I know this has been like rehashed a million times, but they did the whole thing where they were in the room, very obviously plotting and being in an alliance in front of everybody, and then didn't try to like explain anything, didn't let Rome into the room. I feel like that could have been an easy, like, oh, we were just playing a game or whatever they wanted to say, like just anything. But it makes it so obvious when they're just all in there together and they don't let him in and he knows they're in there. And then they play it off like, oh, were you ringing? I didn't hear. Oh, did you hear? I didn't hear anything. It's just not good. Then you've got them seemingly turning on each other already. Not the vets turning on each other, but like they had a good thing going with Drew and Barrett. And the fact that they're like, I don't trust what Drew is saying because I don't like it. And because like, it just doesn't seem real to me. And I'm going to go out and like say that to somebody else. It's like, that is not the move. And then you've got this whole, oh, I'm going to take Lyric off the block thing. It doesn't make any sense. They fell for this thing. And then now I guess even if they didn't fall for the fact that they're broken up or whatever, it doesn't matter. Even if they are broken up now, they still were a solid block and you want to break that up. Whereas Melody is seemingly kind of on her own little island, or at least could be, and could want to work with people. And it just all seems pretty messy and bad. And I'm pretty disappointed, but at the same time, I don't like a steamroll, so I guess it's good. Yeah, what a weird week.
I can't remember who said it, but somebody said, I think it was on I get lost. Somebody said it's like it's like they're playing chess and they've memorized the opening plays, like the opening moves. Like they researched like how to play Big Brother, and then they were like started well, but then they're the kind of chess player that like only knows the opening moves and is kind of like, wait, what do I do now? And they're just like, I guess move the queen up here. Like it's like a little all over the place here, Pooya.
Yeah, I think that this is also kind of the byproduct of when things go really well for you off rip and everything you're doing is working, you might end up starting to do things and convince yourself that they're going to work because everything's been working. And I think this is a bit of that we're seeing here. And I don't want to say that and then not state the obvious. You're some messy people, okay? 2 of the 3 icons that are back that are here this season, I would argue, and we talked about at length in the draft, are the type of players that could end up either getting bored and doing some goofy stuff or just can't help themselves and find themselves right back there anyway. But I do think that the combination of those 2 things, in addition to the fact that now with this new twist, the time capsule, you have to imagine if you're an icon, you're expecting to get the first 3 a shot at them. So I feel like when you're emboldened like that, you might do more. This is to take it to Survivor real quick. When you're on Survivor and you won immunity that night and you have an idol for the next round, guess what? You're probably going to be very loud at the next tribal council. Like you're going to be super safe for the next 2. You're going to say what you need to say. And I think we're at this stage with them right now. This is exactly why, and Taran, you and I had a very not lengthy, but we had a discussion about this on the update that I was on Friday about, hey, the people who think it's a steamroll, why should we tell them not to worry about it? This is why. Because this is a classic overplay. It's in week 2. We're getting cute. And I don't think genuinely that we're up for a steamroll. I just can't see it right now.
I think also because they were saying, this is so fun. Oh my God, this is so much fun when things were going kind of crazy. I think they're like chasing that high. And so they're like, okay, well, how can we make Lala mad? Or like, how can we, what crazy move can we make? And it's like, yes, that is totally fun. But that is not the way that you can just easily walk to the end, which I guess is good because we don't then need to worry about them just walking to the end. But at the same time, it's not good for their game.
Yeah, Rob and I did a podcast with Aubrey today, talking about her friends on the season, and we went into some detail about some of the potential influences from Survivor into Big Brother. Obviously, we talked about that a lot with Suri when she was on, but I think there are even more sort of ways to see, even prepped to know that the pace is different ways that like the game interacts with your psyche in the house. One of the more interesting points that I thought came from that podcast, I highly recommend it if you haven't listened, was that, is something that Aubrey mentioned was like on Survivor, because the time scale is so much shorter, you're very used to like who's talking to who at any given moment because every conversation matters on Survivor. You don't have a lot of time, and it's very intentional to go out and have a conversation with somebody. On Big Brother, everyone's talking all the time because you have to. There are tons of conversations that are completely meaningless. We know this when we watch the feeds. And Aubrey was noticing on the feeds, like D is like constantly head on a swivel, like who's talking to who, because that's what she's used to on Survivor. But in reality, like only a fraction of those conversations on Big Brother are as influential, are as important as the ones on Survivor. So I find that really interesting, and I think it's another reason why players, Survivor players, I think tend to be a lot more paranoid on Big Brother than they perhaps would be on Survivor, and perhaps part of what we're getting here this week when it comes to all of this chaos. In terms of the steamroll, what I will say is I think we're going to have a lot of criticisms for many of the players in terms of their decision making that's taking place. However, I do still think that this is probably a situation where they probably won't have to pay for it, at least anytime soon, because they probably do have powers coming their way, and they're good at competitions, and so it's like I want to keep that in mind as we sort of like, for at least from my perspective, as I criticize them, I do so in a spot where it's like, you had so much and you've given up so much. You still have a lot, but you gave up so much that you didn't need to, is very much where I'm coming from in a lot of these cases.
Yeah, like it's like you had 100, now you have 80. You still have 80, but like you could have just kept 100. Yeah.
100%. Melissa, what have been your thoughts over the week in terms of what's been happening here on the feeds?
I've been very intrigued by all of it. Like, I loved it. First of all, I just got to throw out there that I loved that they had the ending of the ceremony on the feeds. I don't think that's ever happened before. That was really fun. And I hope they do more of that. Did not love that it wasn't on the episode yet, because I was like, I want to see, how it all turned out. I want to know. But obviously they're trying to make us just watch the next episode, and I get it. But I did want to talk about something. So, I guess I wanted to ask you guys about something, because I feel like I'm hearing a lot of chatter about how Drew is very reminiscent of Dan in season 10. Not season 14, but season 10. And I'm wondering, first of all, whether we think those comparisons are at all accurate, because like, if everyone will remember, Dan in season 10 wasn't very great in the beginning, or at least we didn't fully recognize that he was super great. He was kind of on the bottom. He was losing allies, and was just kind of playing on his own. So to me, I'm wondering about that, number one, or is it just the bandana thing, or is it just the way he looks? And two, do we think that this whole, I don't know if I can trust Drew thing is Drew's fault at all? Or do we feel like he is like being open and honest with his alliance and just sharing things that they don't want to hear, and so that's why they don't want to believe him? That's a two-parter.
Yeah, I think with the Dan question, I've certainly seen it like visually, because like I think if you squint your eyes with certain outfits, you'd be like, Dan? Are you? But in terms of gameplay, I don't know if I've heard it as much gameplay comparison wise. I think there is perhaps a way you could look at it where it's like, I think maybe like a later stage. I think that Drew and Dan both have a quality of mischievousness to them. That Dan owns and like is mischievous. Whereas Drew, I think, just seems mischievous.
Yes.
He hasn't actually been that mischievous. But I think a key difference here is that while Dan did have a bad start, his recovery turned him into this like very trustworthy figure for the house for a few weeks, where they really thought like, wow, Dan, the loyal guy, quiet, loyal Dan. And Drew is, I think, almost the opposite, where like almost everyone is like, I like Drew. I don't know if I can trust him. I don't know if I can trust him. So I'm not sure that gameplay wise, I could quite do the comparison. I think there probably are some other ones. In fact, I think that the Quinn and the Corey comparisons are probably a bit more apt in terms of how people view them. Quinn and Corey both have a charisma to them. People are drawn to them in some capacity. However, they're young, they're enthusiastic, and there's just something about that combination that just reads untrustworthy, even when they are. And it happened to both of them, and I think it's happening to Drew here as well. But that kind of does bring us to that other question. And Pooya, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this about like, you know, how much of this is Drew's fault? And how much of it is just sort of like either paranoia, maybe coming from Angela, or just like his archetype?
I think it's a byproduct of both. I think partly, yes, is there an invoice being paid forth by the you happen to fit the gamer squirrel fan role in your season? Yes, I think there's definitely merits to that. And I think especially when you have someone in the house who's directly had someone like that on her season, she can't help but draw them comparisons.
When I look at you, I see Quinn.
What?
When I look at you, I see Quinn.
Excellent, y'all. Excellent. I think the other thing also, though, is that oftentimes with Big Brother, and this is why I'm very, very much always a little nervous when people choose to put it upon themselves to give their allies news that might not be good. The messenger gets shot. The messenger will just get shot on Big Brother. It happens often. I think that, you know, any of us that have had a very real life experience where you are telling your close friend that, hey, your boyfriend, he cheated. He cheated. This person who I'm friends with told me this. You're telling them the info thinking you're doing them a solid. You know what happens? They cut you out. Like, it happens. Things like this do happen all the time. And I think there's both a level of ultimately it's going to come across like you hurt them, even though you're the one trying to save them from the hurt. You're the one who told them that, so you hurt them. That's a little bit of indirect hurt there. I think the other part also is that people don't want to see, especially when they see someone very good and very positive, they do not want to see them in a negative light. And now you've made them see them in a negative light. So there's a level of resentment to you there as well. It's very complicated. And I could talk about this for hours because it's social dynamics that I do love. But I do think that there is a level of, there is such a thing as being too nice in Big Brother, and then there's such a thing as being too honest. You don't need to be the messenger there. Keep that information. You know that this person's scheming against someone that you're working with directly, but are they scheming against you? No. Would you like for them to keep telling you stuff? Yes. Do you think there's a world where the person you tell will make this messy? Yes. Yeah, just keep it to yourself. There's easily that option to make. I think that now, to go back to the initial point, though, of is it his fault? I think that some other players, some other archetypes could do the same thing he did and not get the blowback he's getting. I think he just naturally seems like a schemy person. And I think, unfortunately, that's going to make people think of him this way, no matter how he goes about it.
I feel like that's a good point, Pooya. Like, if the information is just like, oh, this person doesn't like you, I don't know if I see the benefit of saying that. If the person's like telling you information and you're working with that person and they say, oh, I don't like your other ally, not knowing that that's your ally, then do you really want to go tell your other ally that like your other ally doesn't like them? Like, I feel like it's more beneficial for you, like you said, to keep that information on the DL so that way they can potentially work together through you moving forward until eventually you might want to give that information of like, hey, it seems like this person doesn't trust you, or like they've given me information that makes me think that they might vote you out or whatever when you need to. But rather than just being excited to share this new information about them, maybe it's better to not.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I do wonder how much of it is the bearer of bad news thing. Obviously, I pointed out earlier in the season that Drew's interactions with the Alliance maybe could have been a bit warmer, a bit more like on the level feeling. But again, that's kind of just like part of his personality. I think that's like a hard thing to change. And it does make me think about like, okay, because I don't think you ever think about this. I think Drew fully thinks I'm being helpful. I'm giving you the information you need, which is anything potentially dangerous to you. And it's information that theoretically you should want. But if you're Devens or Angela or Dee, and you feel like I'm a vet, I know what I'm doing, I have these great relationships, I'm doing great. And then Drew comes up and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, you're getting tricked. Anyway.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, you don't want to believe that it's true. And you do get mad at Drew to Pooya's point, like bearer of bad news. But then I think there's also potentially an angle of this that's like, okay, not only do I not want to believe Drew, but like, what if it feels easier for me to think, what if Drew is instigating these conversations? What if Drew, like, why is Drew only ever bringing me back negative information? Why isn't he ever telling me that somebody likes me?
Or like, why is he talking bad about me behind my back anyway?
Yeah.
Like, why should that be happening? Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be like if Melissa and I talk 4 times a year, and every time Melissa's like, hey, I saw these 3 comments about you and they're all the negative ones. And it's like, okay, are you cherry picking now? Because you could have easily said the good ones. To your point, like maybe this is like, how are you instigating this? Like, are you trying to make me feel a type of way?
Exactly. And so it's made me think about, I think there are obviously a lot of angles to this, but if you are the person that is bringing back information in this way, it's probably pretty important to make sure you throw in at least some good news. More, in fact, maybe even more good news than bad news if you can help it. Now, of course, the danger to that is that the more good news you tell someone, the more you enable their game. But it's the same if you tell them negative things. And so like at the end of the day, I just feel like lean toward positive delivery because they will feel a lot better about getting that information. And if you do give something negative, it will make them question, why were you a part of this conversation? And I think back to also, I know many didn't watch it, but Big Brother Canada 11 or 12, whatever it was. 12 with with Anthony Douglas and Spicy V, where like Spicy V is constantly getting caught in conversations about Anthony. He's like, I know you're a secret ally, but you're supposed to still be vouching for me in these conversations. You're supposed to be changing the minds of these people to help me out. And so, now just to be clear, none of what I just said is anything that Dee or Angela are like actively vocalizing. So I don't know that they're consciously thinking about it in these terms, but I do wonder, how much of this is subconsciously inside this idea of like this associating Drew with this negativity and suspicion. Because, I think I talked this morning, I was like, it just feels like they just don't like him very much. And I do think to some degree that's true, in the sense that I think they would rather work with Jason or Lear, like people that they just kind of vibe with a little better. I feel like if they were to choose their alliance now, I'm not sure they would choose Drew just as a personality. But I think that part of that has stemmed from just associating him with negativity. And so, it's like how much of this is his fault? Like, I would say less than it's the fault of the paranoia itself. But there are certainly things he should maybe be able to notice or adjust as things go. We've seen him be like, are we good? Like, I'm worried you guys aren't trusting me. And if you have that instinct, I do think that maybe it's worth reevaluating your approach and really just playing just a little bit more selfishly, to be honest. Like,
like, why are you giving this? Why are you giving this information? And I feel like, even if it, okay, so if someone says like, I really don't like so-and-so, instead of just saying, yeah, they really don't like you, maybe just saying like, yeah, well, maybe they seem a little wary of you. So maybe we should try and like build up like, their trust in you or something, you know, something like that versus like they just hate you.
It was just like, hey, Mallory hates you still. Ugh. Be like, yeah, Mallory's still going on about you. I was like, I don't know though. Like I was trying to calm her down. I think I got her a little bit off of you. But you know, maybe we'll see. We'll check in. And the thing is, like, he does do that. And that gets independently verified when they talk to people. Yash was talking to Devens today, and he was mentioning that that Drew is like saying good things about Devens, like stuff like that, like constantly being independently verified. But that's like such a separate source. It's not coming from Drew himself, and so I don't know that it's helping the image, even though it theoretically should be.
Yeah.
I mean, there is such a thing of also like being in too deep, and part of me also thinks, is there a world where on a level they're thinking, how close are you to them that they're willing to talk smack about me this openly to you? You know, like especially with the detail, because Drew spares no expense, no detail. He tells you everything exactly how it went. And I do like the point that Melissa made where if you rephrase it and reframe it as a, hey, remember I said we let each other know if your name's coming up? Your name's been coming up. And like keeping it just at that. This is a no. There was mockery. They laughed at you. You said all these kind things, and then they laughed in the camera. It's definitely a lot more, but then I think there's a conversation of, well, why does he feel this comfortable sharing that with you about me? Because what have you said about me behind closed doors then that makes them feel welcome to say these things about me to you?
Yeah. Pooya, what else are we thinking about this week? What else has been going on?
Okay. I have a question, and I'm sure this is something that we can tackle more so in the Stockwatch portion, but I would like to talk about it now because I genuinely am up in the air a little bit, so your insights could help here. I want us to discuss melody, and I want us to discuss lyric real quick, and I want to know, who do we think is the better player as things stand?
That's really hard. That's really hard because like if you had asked me a few days ago or whatever, I would have said Melody for sure. That's not even a question. But I feel like Melody seems like the better player. But the fact that Lyric was able to get off the block this week and convince Devens that like her and Rome are not a thing and that she should be the one to come up when it's extremely obvious that Lyric should not be the one coming off the block. At the same time, I do feel like Melody has good reads and is like the type of person, or I just feel like I could see her being a really good player, but is she a really good player? I don't feel like people want to work with her. I don't feel like she has any really strong allies, whereas I always feel like people want to work with Lyric more or think that they can work with her more. And I don't know whether that's just them thinking that they can manipulate her more, even though it doesn't seem like that's true. It's very difficult, but on paper, I would say like Melody, of course. And to be honest, I'm more interested in watching Melody, but that's another story. But Taran, I'm wondering what you think.
My gut was Lyric easily. I like Melody as somebody to watch, but because Melody has more sort of like passion for the game. She's more of a game player. She's more sort of like active and thinking about the game. And I think that like give Melody a position of power and she probably makes better decisions than Lyric might. But at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter if you can't get into a position of power because socially you're falling flat in the house. She made a lot of bad decisions last week when it came to distancing herself from Mallory so publicly, when it came to freaking out when Ashley told her the information about the sides and becoming the figurehead of stopping that vote, when she abandoned Devens in the HOH competition. Like just a lot of tactical errors on top of just not being able to formulate any real great bonds. One of her best relationships is with Drew, who is just like at least 85% playing her, like, which is not great. Lyric, on the other hand, socially is much better. She has much more, she has much deeper and more genuine relationships. Her social game is clearly very good. She managed to snow a bunch of people into taking her off the block this week. A bunch of vets know as well. So very good stuff. But I would say even before Lyric did that, I would have said her biggest flaw was how invested she was with Rome. But now that this whole thing is kicked off, her head's much more in the game. And so I'm definitely thinking Lyric at this point. It could always change though, especially as they're fledgling players and they learn and develop over time. Means Lyric could get even more deadly as she gets more used to the game. Or it could mean Melody starts to understand her flaws and adjust because she's so analytical.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt as well, where I could see both sides. I think that it has been a very impressive couple of days with Lyric, more potential that I'd not seen before. I think with Melody, I think the one thing I will say is that we saw some of the Melody potential earlier, but then I do think there's been a lot of errors along the way as well. Whereas Lyric has just been on a stalemate because of the showmance. And I think now it's like, okay, there's some stuff here. I like that. I like what I'm seeing. And I'm very curious where we go from here with her. Specifically also whether or not Rome is in that equation come Thursday, we'll find out. But I think there's a lot of intrigue here. And I genuinely mean this when I say that this cast specifically, I think there's a lot of potential everywhere still. Like this is not, to me, by now, most seasons, I'm like, all right, these 4 people are an afterthought to me. I don't think there's 4. Maybe once we see the whole list in front of me, maybe I'll have that different opinion. But I don't think there's 4. I really don't.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, again, we were, at least I was relatively impressed with the cast last week in comparison to what I was expecting from the cast in general. Although I did look at the previous Stockwatch ratings from last season, and I think similarly we were a bit higher on that cast initially than we eventually became. But I do think that, again, even the vets who I think are making a bit of an error here, they're still playing really well in other ways, and they're still in a very good position. Now, how much of that is they're doing and how much of that is the fact that they've got a bunch of powers coming their way is another question. But I think that I would say this is more so Lyric doing a good job than like the vets tripping over their own feet for no reason at all. Now, the obvious meeting in the HOH room, that was a bit of a trip on your feet. That was a not necessary thing to do. But it wasn't that bad if you were able to follow through on this move. And I do think that it's sort of underreported how effective like a full force blitz can be to demolish the other side. And we're seeing the results of that. There are still like Lala and Rome have some tension still. Jason is on the outs from that side. The women, the littles, like they are scattered and hesitant to jump on any one side in particular. So they have done that damage in a significant way. And so I actually don't hate it that much. It was unnecessarily risky and exposing, but you know, it's not like it was a complete disaster in the same way that I'm not sure the veto is a complete disaster as much as, again, I just think it's such an obviously wrong decision. So yeah, it's very interesting. And I am very interested, especially in watching Lyric moving forward as a player. Is, you know, really whether Rome stays or not. I think that like she'll be an interesting one to watch here.
I'm certainly more interested in watching her if Rome leaves, but
I'll agree with that.
I think she's probably in a better spot if he stays, but I do think that it'd be way more fun to watch if he's gone and she's still there.
Yes. All right. Should we do some survey results?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Let's start where I do not have as much of a visualization. I still just have my spreadsheet here. So we're going to come back to the favorite player list in just a second. But right now I have what is the episodes this week. I had the audience rate the episodes this week, and we have the full table from all of the previous seasons and weeks. Last week, the episodes were 7.1, and this week, the episodes are a 6.7, which is higher than last season's 6.2. And one of the highest second weeks of episodes since we've been doing this, only beat by Big Brother 23's second week.
Yeah, I don't feel like the episodes were that great, but I don't feel like they were terrible. I think I wish we could have seen the veto fallout, or not the veto fallout. It's the nominations fallout. I wish we could have seen the nominations fallout in that episode, but I understand them wanting to hold it. But that's what I was so excited to see that. And then I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're waiting.
Yeah, I think 6.7 is still strong. So remind me, Taran, this basically counts for from the Veto episode onwards for the cycle for the roundtable?
So theoretically, it would be last week's Veto episode, eviction episode, and nomination episode. Though realistically, I think in people's minds, they're thinking of the eviction episode and the nomination episode. And the Veto episode is kind of lost to time in terms of where we take this survey, because it's a few episodes behind. And I also think it tends to be the worst episode of the week. So I think this week helped that it was the eviction episode, which was fine, and then last episode, which was pretty good and ended on a pretty good cliffhanger. So really, I mean, still like a very solid rating in comparison to the normal pretty big drop off in week 2. In fact, almost every single season, Big Brother 22 saw a small increase, 23 saw a small increase, but every other season has dropped from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, I mean, you've not had 3 weeks in the green since BB23. So could week 3 bring it home for BB28?
Technically, I think I see a 3-week stretch here, BB27, week 6 to week 8, but it's a very dark green there at the bottom.
Yeah, I meant first 3 weeks.
Oh, first 3. Yes, of course, of course. That'd be interesting to see. That'd be interesting to see for sure. Okay, so we also have the feeds. I asked the audience to rate the feeds this week, and don't mind the messy table because I'm hoping to eventually replace this anyway. So
surely we go up. Surely we go
historically,
up.
The week 1 feeds have, if we look at this, almost always been better than the week 2 feeds. With again a couple of small exceptions. Big Brother 22 had slightly better week 2 feeds, and Big Brother 24 had slightly better week 2 feeds, but not by that much.
Yeah, don't say much there.
Last week, the feeds were given a 7.3. This week, the feeds were given an 8.3.
Yes.
The highest rated second week of feeds since we've been doing this, since Big Brother 21.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah. That Thursday night was just something else. And then the fallout. And then, honestly, can we say the +1 bump, 0.8 of that has to be the fact that we started feeds up right at the tail end of the nomination ceremony. Like, that was so unprecedented and so unexpected in such a good way. It's been great.
Yeah. Great stuff. Definitely the biggest increase from week 1 to week 2. And like I said, the highest rated week 2 since we've been asking this question. One of the higher rated weeks in general since we've been asking this question.
I mean, even the most, like the 8 from week 2, Big Brother 25, that was a decrease from week 1. So it's not even like, oh, well, they both went up, but this one went up higher. Like that was 9.2 to 8. This is 7.3 to 8.3. Big jump.
Yes. Pretty wild stuff there. Then, of course, we have the season as a whole so far, which is one of my, I really enjoy this one to see the tracking of the season, although maybe not, again, like the most representative, because I think we, at least I'm pretty sure we all kind of fondly look back at Big Brother 27, and yet, largely because of the hamster wheel, really got tanked there at the end of that season. And then Big Brother 26 almost felt like the opposite. It felt like by the end of the season, it's kind of tailed off, but the rating remained relatively consistent. We talked about that last week, but I still think it's really interesting to sort of track across the season. Last week, the season was given a 7.4. This week, a 7.3. So just maintaining consistency here. 7.3 is also relatively in line with many of the seasons in the past, apart from 24 and 21, which both had very low ratings for very obvious reasons. And then finally, HOH reigns. Let's see. In week 2, we have Devens. And I also have the week 1 re-rating. Last week, D, and if I get a new visualization for this, I'll try to incorporate this better than I currently have it. But D's HOH was given an 8.4 last week. In hindsight, in retrospect, with hindsight, the audience changed their rating to a 6.9. Big drop off.
I guess because Ashley's not, she didn't really matter in terms of getting someone out. It wasn't like, oh, she really succeeded in something. I don't know.
I mean, ultimately, she failed to get out the target she wanted, which is not the greatest sign. But it didn't really matter that much. Which
it's week 1.
A good sign.
Yeah.
Well, famously, we did a podcast where we did like deep statistics on first HOH, and one of the best indicators for whether a first HOH would be successful in the game was whether or not they managed to successfully take out the target they aimed for. However, that was like pre-Frenchie. So like Frenchie and Angela and like even Riley, I think like they all managed to take out their targets. And so like, I don't know about that. So who knows? But either way, a drop off. I think this also is just coming from a sort of lowered expectation of D as a player in general. So this is why I like to take a look at both ends, because I don't necessarily think the retrospective end is the more accurate one, because it's influenced by what's currently happening as well. So some interesting stuff there. However, I also asked the audience to rate Devens' HOH this week, and they gave his HOH a 5.1, which might seem low, but it's a little hard to tell in dark mode. It's actually in the green in terms of HOH average ratings. So it's actually pretty decent. Certainly higher than Jimmy's last season and higher than Heisem's, which is, both of those two men tanked their games and were evicted shortly after. So, hard to be lower than that, I guess. Lower than Chelsea's, who did go on to win that season. So I think in terms of where Devin stands and all that, not bad. Also, it's not like Chelsea's HOH reign in week 2 was like the best in the world. She really came into her own, I think, a little bit later in that season. So I will say, I think Devens has made some big mistakes. I personally would say if I didn't feel so confident that the vets were going to get more powers, I'd be a bit lower on Devens and the decisions he's making. But I can't really divorce the fact that he expects to get powers from his decision making. So,
I also feel like last week there was conversation about trying to keep the fact that the vets were working together sort of under wraps and trying to keep things, trying to work other people so that way no one really could get a sense of that there was a big alliance or anything. And then it's like that all goes out the window when they all go upstairs at 4:30 in the morning. I just don't know I still can't wrap my head around why that happened in that way and why they felt so confident to not even worry whatsoever about the perception of that and any sort of issue with that. Like, is it, I don't know. Is it because they just feel so confident?
I think once that ball started rolling, it was like really difficult to stop it. And I do think that some of them regretted it afterward, including Devens himself. But it was messy. It was very messy.
It was pointless. Like, I don't know why they would give up such a great position it seemed like they were in, where they had, they were working together, but they had plausible deniability of like, no, we don't have anything. I was talking with them because we were going over, what it's like to be on Survivor or whatever. But like, they could have reasonably been like, we don't actually have any real thing, and I would love to work with you. Now it's very obvious who everyone's working with.
I feel like, everyone's a sucker for a reveal moment. A lot of us nerds, we've watched The Genius. You want that moment. Bongarang plays in the background, and then a big reveal happens. Like, I had you this whole time. I had you in my pocket. I hoodwinked you. They blew their load on week 2. I think they could have had this moment 4 weeks down the line, 5 weeks down the line. They went for the reveal immediately, which is messy, so that's great for us. It also prevents it from just being an easy pick and steamroll, also good for us. It makes the game a little bit harder for them, also good for us. I think there's a lot of benefits for us. For them as players, you could have kept it on the drops for a couple of weeks. You could have done that. But I'm okay with it. I'll live with it.
I mean, especially if they're going to start talking about taking out Melody. It's like, well, what did we do all of this for then? No. I asked the audience, rate production on how well they are running the show. Last week, the audience gave production a 6.7. This week, a 6.1, slightly less. Why? I don't know. Could just be regular deviation. Could be that they don't like the time capsule. It could be that they don't like the powers in general. Surely they gave production a bit of extra points for coming back with the feeds as early as they did, but not a lot of change here anyway. Then I asked, is Devens doing the right thing with the veto? And you should not be surprised to know that 85% of the audience said no. No. So only 15% agree with the decision to take off Lyric, which I think just about tracks.
Yep.
Then I asked, is Devens choosing the right replacement nominee? This was a little bit more surprising because only 75%. So it's still an overwhelming number, but there is a good 25% of survey responders here who believe that Devens should have chosen somebody else as the replacement nominee other than Rome. Now, theoretically, this question could have meant also like not having gone after Rome in the first place. I would assume that most people saying no to this wouldn't say that after making a big stink, he should not follow through. But who knows? Finally, who do you want to be evicted this week? Jason, Melody, or Rome? Who do you guys think took the most votes here?
You know, it's tough because I can see the entertainment factor for all three. I think the true chaos agents would have been like, I don't want Rome to leave now. I want them to feel punished for this. I don't think they want to. Is it Melody? I don't agree with it, but is it Melody? I could see them going Melody.
I feel like people want Rome out.
Melissa is correct. 62%, pretty overwhelmingly, want Rome to go. Melody
I don't know who I want out.
Melody was the smallest sample.
Yeah.
10% said Melody,
okay,
and 28% said Jason.
I feel like I can see the benefits of all of them staying. So it's very hard for me to make a decision. If anything, I probably would have been much happier to have Lyric go, because I just feel like I don't really feel like she's bringing that much. Now, this week, obviously, we saw another side, etc. But then once the Rome thing happened and they got back together, I'm just like, I don't need it. So I'm fine with one of the showmans going, really, at this point, because then we don't have to worry about it and they can like actually play the game, hopefully. I just don't like the conversation where it's like, oh, I don't care about the game. I just want to be with you. Can we go somewhere and just like be together? It's like, just like, what are you doing here? So yeah, I'm fine with them going.
Can I ask a question before we get into the ratings of everything? So I want to go on a bit of a time. It's a time capsule season, time machine season. Let's go back in history and let's go to Canada. Okay, back in Canada, BB Can 6, we had a week where Ryan Ballantyne's on the block, and he gets such a sympathetic edit that Canada gives him the veto, and despite rooting for other players more, by giving him the veto, they got one of their favorites out of the game.
You got to give a trigger warning when you talk about this.
Listen, I know I should have probably given more of a heads up than all of this. My question to you, trigger warning for what I'm about to ask in a scenario form. Can we see a world where Rome gets such a sympathetic schmoopy love, I'm losing my loved one edit Wednesday and Thursday that Rome is in contention to get a time capsule?
Absolutely. I mean, Devens is concerned about that potential reality. He's mentioned that he's worried that could happen, and that's part of why he's so convinced that Rome needs to go. But yes, 100%. You know, and it fully depends on how they decide to edit Rome here. There's some bad sides to him they could show. There are some like sort of sappy, sad, not very interesting sides, or it could be heroic. I'm taking the bullets. I'm crying because I love Lyric. We love each other. They could play it completely straight. They could hype him up. Who knows? I'm more inclined to believe that they're going to stick to their heroes, Angela, Devens, but it's definitely possible. The edit can make anything possible.
Yeah. I mean, especially because we just saw Rome being locked out of that room and being like, I know what's going on there. Then you see the next episode, who knows, maybe it's like he confronts them about the fact that they were, and he's this underdog now. And you know that we all love underdogs. So I could see a scenario where he gets portrayed as the underdog who was left out. And, now, we want him to rally against the big, the Steamroll Alliance. We now want him to rally the underdogs. And, I don't know. But I could definitely see.
What I will say is, I think that if they were planning to do this, I think they would have edited the meeting upstairs differently. I think there was a way to make that a lot more sympathetic to Rome, and they decided not to. That, to me, and they knew how the week was going when they decided to do that edit. So to me, that indicates where they're at with Rome and that they're probably not going to push super hard. But you never know.
And one final question, Taran, as a historian and an avid feeds watcher and commentator of every season with a fine-tooth comb, and a recent convert of Love Island, is this the most lovey-dovey showmance we've had in quite some time? Because we've had showmances, we've had early showmances. This feels like we're talking endgame level flirtation and comments on week 2. What's the closest comparison?
It is a lot. I mean, honestly, like Rachel and Brendan might be like they got pretty shooty pretty quick. And like I've talked about, like Cody and Jessica were certainly very, very close, very, very early, but they were not schmoopy all that much. That's not really who Cody is. Obviously, like America and Corey took a long time, and they eventually were pretty schmoopy. But even
that's
then,
why that was a cute one to me. I like the delay. Yeah, the delayed, like, oh, do they like each other? Oh, are they like sort of flirty? And then it's like, that's what you want.
Yeah, as feed watchers, we like the chase also, I guess is what you're saying. We like when there's a little bit of like, will they, won't they? Oh,
for sure.
That was a long glance. They're holding hands a little bit versus I love you and you give me butterflies.
Yeah. I mean, why do you think people like Zanky so much? Think about it.
Not to spoil Love Island, but the couple that kind of took the slowest.
Yeah,
we
love a good slow burn. Yeah.
All right. I now have the favorite rankings. And let me pull up this. It's not very visual yet, because there's nowhere to chart yet. But this is the list from last week. Hopefully this is visible and not too small to read. Because if it is, then the next one's going to be bad. So we're gonna do our best here. Still fine tuning the size of everything, but so please let me know if this is too small in the comments, because I can't really improve the size of the next one all that much. But D was the favorite. Do we think that D has retained her status as the fan favorite? Melissa, Pooya, what do you think?
I think so, because I think that she hasn't really done much to truly like lose that place yet, considering that she's well known outside of this season. And so I feel like she still has it, but I could see it dropping down.
I think for me, while of the 3 icons, she may have not been as active or as part of the storyline as the other 2. I think even though the other 2 might be a little more polarizing, I could see D slipping by like 1 or 2 placements. I'm going to say D is not number 1.
D is not number 1. So
fall from grace.
Who has become number 1?
Could it be the merchant of chaos, the master of chaotic whispers, the egg detective herself? Could it be the messy one? Could it be Angela? Could she have gone up?
I feel like people wouldn't put people wouldn't put Devens because they're like annoyed with his choices.
The veto decision. Mhm.
Yeah.
Angela was in second place last week. She won the power this week, but she is not the new number one.
Huh.
What?
I'll give you both one more guess.
Oof.
Can you give us
Melissa.
a hint that it's a vet or not?
I'm not going to give you a hint. Because I'm about to give you
Okay,
a hint.
I think. Oh my god! It's maybe is it?
I don't think it's Barrett.
I was
think
gonna say
I
either Drew or
genuinely
Barrett, but maybe Drew because I don't think it's Devens. I think Drew.
I would be see, and like I know the survey goes out Monday, like goes out today, right? Day of.
Mhm.
So I know people are like up to date with everything, which is why I also agree with you. I don't think it's Devens. Could this be Drew's time to shine? Could he be number one?
He is.
He's number one.
Whoa.
Wow.
Drew is number one. He goes up 4 places to become the new number one favorite player on the Stockwatch survey.
Wow, good for him.
People, I think it's the sense of injustice, I think, is really helping Drew. The fact that he's so loyal to the Alliance and then is getting so being so distrusted.
Can't handle the truth.
Yes. All right. Following Drew, D, who drops from first to second place.
And then what, Angela?
Then Angela in third.
Then Devens. Or Barrett.
Barrett or Devens. Barrett was 4th last time. Devens was 5th. So,
Devens did not go up one, I don't think, this week.
Yeah, no, because it's got to be Barrett and then Devens.
it's Devens.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Devens there is in 4th place, followed by Barrett.
Barrett dropped.
5th.
On,
so
Barrett.
These were the top 5 last time. They are still all the top 5, although rearranged.
Mm-hmm.
Who's next? This is a big question. Who is next in this order?
Maybe Taylor? Maybe Melody?
I think Lyric could be up there, you know. I think Lyric could have moved a little bit upwards. Or is it just Jason? It could just also be Jason. Although very polarizing pick.
Yeah, maybe. Well, Jason was pretty high. That's from last time, right?
Last time Jason was the top of anybody that wasn't crossovers.
And I could see Jason again being up there.
We need to lock in.
Oh my God, that's so hard. Oh my God. I'll just go.
I'm gonna go wild on this one. I'm gonna say Lyric.
I'll just do Jason. Just keep it consistent.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
You said Melody earlier. It was Melody who has a big jump.
I had it.
3 places. Yes, Melody up there, followed by Mallory, who wasn't even spoken of. Right below Melody, who also had a bit of a jump here. Then Jason, who has fallen a couple of places.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to tell you this. It's a surprising one. Who do you think it might be?
Surprising. And this is going to be what, 9th pick? Kamu's not a bad shout.
I think it's Kamu.
I think Lyric wouldn't have been surprising based on what we just said.
Melissa nailed it out of the gate. I'm going to put you out of your misery. It was, in fact, Kamu, a massive jump up 5 places to 9th here for Kamu.
Wow.
Then we have Lala, who has fallen a few places. In fact, fallen quite a few places in comparison to many people. As I think it's just like you're just not getting enough from Lala. Then Lyric, who has a small bump here this week. Then we have Taylor with a small fall. And then we have the last 4 people.
Well, it looks like Jason's going to make a big fall.
No, Jason.
Oh, no, he's already on there. I was like, wait, so then who's that then?
So our bottom 4, this was the order last week. Our bottom 4, Rome, Chuck, Yash, and Haley, who were also the bottom 4 last week in that order.
Oh, I guess I'm getting mixed up by the red dot. That's not in an order?
That is Ashley's dot.
Okay. There you
who
go. I'm
was
like, somebody's about
evicted.
to tumble. Okay,
Yes,
that makes more sense.
we retain Ashley's position down.
Gotcha,
She was evicted in 6th place, pretty high.
Okay, yeah, that is very high.
Okay, quick rapid succession. What is the order of the final 4 here?
Who do we have left? Sorry.
Rome, Chuck, Yash, Haley.
I gotta imagine Yash is last now. I'm gonna say Yash is last. Haley is second last, and then it's Rome. Then it's Chuck. I'll say that's mine.
I think maybe Rome and then Chuck and then Haley, then Yash.
Yeah, I could live with that also.
Melissa nailed it. Rome, Chuck,
Nice.
Haley, Yash. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wait, sorry. Why do we all hate Yash? What's the deal here?
I think the combination of like bad opinions and not really like doing much on the feeds, because obviously Kamu has also had bad opinions, but he's actually playing well.
Okay.
So that seems to have made up for a lot of that. I think also Kamu had the benefit of wanting the thing that the audience wanted, which is always a huge boost for a player. But yes, Kamu, the most improved of the week. Devens mostly holding steady, and Lala and Rome both with pretty decent drops here.
Okay, yeah. I guess I just don't really watch Yash's feeds, so I kind of
you're not missing out.
So yeah, that's why I was like, wait, I didn't know we hated him. I was just kind of bored. Okay.
And here's the positioning in terms of like how far apart they were. Last week there was a huge gap. There was the top 5, and then there was a middle group, and then mostly everyone else. This week, Melody really snuck up there, actually pretty close to Barrett, and almost overtook him to join that top 5.
Yeah, she's probably going to be out. She's probably going to be gone this week.
Yes. Then there's Mallory here in a class of her own, sort of in the middle between that top group and this massive middle group, or massive group here, where pretty much everyone is stacked up except for Yash, who is quite a ways behind.
And this is
putting into perspective as well, like Kamu in 9th, but barely ahead of most of these other players here. They were all very tightly grouped up. And look who we've got here.
Look, is that you? You want to say hi?
Hey.
Callan,
who's his favorite?
Callan, who's your favorite? Can you say Drew? You want to say Drew? Say yeah. Yeah. Good job. Okay, just say Drew. Yeah. Well,
he's a Lala fan, I guess.
Drew.
Yeah, I think he's a Lala fan.
Yeah. Okay, you want to go? You want to go down? Okay. Bye.
All right. There we go. That is the favorite ratings. Are we ready to do the Stockwatch? Are we ready to rate these players based on their gameplay instead?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we're ready.
Here we go. This is what I've got for the new visual. Again, hopefully this is legible here. We've got all our players on the left. We've got week 1 on the right, and a bunch of ratings to do. This is, of course, the portion of the podcast where we do rate these players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they are doing in the game. Many factors that we could sort of factor into this in terms of their like long-term safety, short-term safety. What do we agree with the decisions that they are making in the game this week? Plenty of things to do and to talk about. So let's get this started. Let's talk first about Angela. And it's interesting. Last week, Angela had straight 7s, which was, by the way, I can also do this. This is last season's week 2, and this is season 26's week 2. We can see what kind of ratings Angela got.
Oh, wow.
In week 2 of Big Brother 26.
Oh, wow.
You know,
was a little rough. It was a little rough.
Wasn't great. Wasn't great.
I wasn't there that week.
I guess not. Yeah, this was Mari and QT.
We're after the first couple weeks, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Not
Either
cool,
that or
Melissa.
it's wrong. It's possible it was wrong.
No, it's probably I was out. I don't know.
All right. So
or was that makes sense because I had just had Callan. Right? Because it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
There we go. That makes sense. I was like, what was I doing? Okay. Yeah, that. Just a baby. That's all.
All right. So you can see the season average top right, the average player rating for the season so far. And if we look last season, it ended up being it was about a 4 at this point in that season. So we'll see where we end up at the end of this week. Angela last week was given straight 7s. Her position in the game is, I would say, demonstrably worse. I can also, if this is, we can light mode it. If this is easier to read for everyone, I don't know. We can like upvote, downvote.
I
the light
always
mode
like
dark
light mode, but I know I'm in the minority. But it's a lot more fun for me to see the green versus red versus neutral more clearly. But I think old.
I'm seeing light mode is easier to read, even though people tend to prefer dark mode. So I think I have to go for legibility here for the time being, if we can. Don't worry, we can keep working on the design. We can keep working on this. So Angela, 7s last week. This week, I do think her position is worse. I think that she is in a position where she was identified as the ringleader of all of the stuff that was going on with the call outs. She calls out Jason, and she's a bit more of a target now than she was before, which is, not amazing, but it's not the end of the world. She's still not like a massive target. I do not like what she's doing with the Drew situation. I think that's sort of like an issue for her, and I think that at the end of the day, her position is still fine. I think that if anything, the fact that she was talked about as a ringleader of anything is good for her long-term prospects, because she's still not much of a target while still having the kind of respect she might need in the future. So I'm going to give Angela a 6.
Yeah, I definitely feel like she. God, it's very hard because I feel like I want to go further down, but I think like overall, I don't think she's in a bad spot. I'm concerned because I don't like the fact that she's saying that she would potentially target Drew when he's really giving her good information. And we've obviously talked about this already, but that to me is just, it makes me nervous. I feel like the paranoia is starting to creep up, and I don't know if she can maintain her position moving forward. But for now, for right this minute, I would give her a 6 as well.
I would go down a little level, down to an alliance, also known as level 5. I would go 5 on her. And the reason why, you've already mentioned a lot of the points. For me, it is a worse position if what I've read is to be believed, and I've not seen it with my own 2 eyeballs yet. The idea that she would, if she won power, is to backdoor Drew, I think is so horrendous.
I know, that's why I was like, I haven't seen that, but that's what people are saying. So if we're going off of that, okay, I want to bring mine to a 5 then. I agree with Pooya.
Hey, we did.
He's got me. He got me.
I have no skin in the game right now. Actually, I will get on a rant in a second about how I didn't get to make any stock picks this week, but that's fine. The other thing for me also is that being seen as the ringleader, not a great spot. I feel like Angela is someone who, one of the reasons she didn't get drafted early in a lot of drafts was because the idea, I don't see her winning. I don't see her getting to the end and sitting in the final 2 seats. I think after week 1, I could very well see that happening. Being in this spot, I'm a little more skeptical on seeing Angela's longevity. I think the paranoia could be starting to take over. Could this have been, we had a fun, chill week 1, and then Angela's about to revert back a little more to chaotic herself, but I think the reason why it's still a 5 and not lower is because I think there's still a lot of potential with Angela. I think we've seen a lot of good things from Angela, a lot of improvements from her first time. And also, I think that there's so many other people still in the house. I don't think this sticks. I don't think Angela sticks as like the de facto figurehead. I think Angela's personality will naturally always remind people that she isn't running it, and she will be seen as not as big a threat down the line. So,
all right. So that is a 5?
It's a 5.
That looked like a 10.
Wow, a 5.
Should have known.
It's a 10.
Well, the audience gave her 6.
All right.
Fair.
Gave her 6. There you go. By the way, because of this new format, I now get to just import the data. I do not know what the audience gave. I have a reveal button for myself.
Oh,
I like that.
All right, the audience actually agreed with me on the 6. I think I obviously agree with the 6, so they just kind of agree with me here, I guess. Melissa, how do you feel about Barrett?
I like the fact that people are trying to want to bring him into things. I mean, obviously they woke him up in the middle of the night. But I'm a little worried about him because I feel like people are becoming suspicious of him, in that it's very obvious that he's like working with the vets and he's, doing all this other stuff and part of these alliances, and like, why would they go and bring him in? Obviously there's more to it than we thought. So for me, he's not in as good of a spot as I felt like he was last week. So I am going to drop him down to a 5.
I thought you were about to cue up the soundboard. that's where the silence was.
You're waiting. You're like,
Wow, another 5.
There we go. Oh,
Pooya, how
am
are you
I
feeling
going
about
next?
Barrett?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the thing with Barrett is I could also give him a 5, but it would be a very different reason than what I gave Angela. I think for me, I still see Barrett as someone who can pick his game up. I think my biggest critique of him, because I'm not necessarily mad at you put in the work week 1, lay back and reap the rewards week 2. That's not that bad. I'm okay with this. I'm actually very for this, especially for a player like Barrett, who I could see being a threat down the line. The problem is that the people that Barrett did a good job with in week 1 was everybody. And I think the problem is coming into week 2, some of those connections that aren't his immediate main alliance, aren't like the tool shed, are now not looking at Barrett the same way. Don't feel like they could have Barrett the same way. And I don't think that's good. I think losing the connection he had with Mallory, I wasn't happy with. I think that it's been a little too lax for my liking. And maybe, just maybe, in a world where his alliance has done the most, I should give him a reward for not being as most, but I think he's still in it. And I think he still fumbled some of the other connections. I could see him going somewhere down the line. Right now, though, I think given where he was last week, I'm also going to go ahead and put a 5 on him. I could have gone lower, but I am very kind.
There you go. Well, does the audience agree with you? Let's find out. A 6.
They're more kind.
A 6 from the audience. They are more kind with Barrett. I am more in line with you guys, though. I am.
Wow, another 5.
I'm another 5 on Barrett. Obviously, I think Angela's making more active mistakes, but I think Angela's in a much better position than Barrett is at this point. Even though she's not getting a power, she is way more locked in with the vets in terms of like her position. I actually think the fact that she got a punishment is kind of, obviously a power would have been better, but the fact that she got a punishment means she guaranteed doesn't have a power and can't get one in the future. So if you were ever going to target a vet, Angela, who already was probably the last one you would target, is now even less likely to be targeted, because why would you bother taking out Angela when you know she can't get a power? Barrett, on the other hand, has been kind of exposed for playing both sides. I do not like how passive he seems to have gotten over the course of the week. I don't think he's out of it at all, but I do think he's played this week as about a 5 here. And he should be doing a lot more, in my opinion. Pooya, how do you feel about Chuck?
Oof. Okay, Chuck is a little interesting to me because I do feel like with Chuck and the red corner in general, they're just playing a very different game. And I feel like coming into this week, I should have been saying they are the weakest part of their side. But I think one of the things I will say is that the icons, the returnees, the vets, however we want to describe them, have gone out of their way to become bigger targets. Chuck could be someone that is an afterthought. That being said, I still do not think I see Chuck's game as very viable. I think even amongst his red corner friends, I think that if Haley's the de facto main target, he's always the secondary, which I don't think is a great spot for him. I think a lot of his social game, I'm not seeing. Chuck had a lot of potential for me preseason, and I'm still not seeing that. I think what is his claim to fame this week? What is his de facto moment? What is his standout? Is it, I'm flirting with Lyric because it's pissing off Rome? Great. That's a great move. Like, that's nothing. You're doing nada. And he had a 5 last week. So looking at that, does he go above that? No. Does he go below that? I mean, he is in a big alliance called the Tool Shed. If that side wins 1 or 2 more, he's just going to be chilling. But I think I have to give him a 4 off acumen alone. Even then, I genuinely probably should go 3, but I'm just going to give him a 4.
Yes. I'm kind of feeling a little spontaneous. I think we should reveal the audience last every time. I think now that it's a true reveal for me too. I think that
you don't know, I'm down with that.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Because like now none of us know,
and we
and
can't.
It can be like, how much does the audience agree with what we've said? So I'm with Pooya on the 4. I think that 4 makes a lot of sense. Chuck, very much the like Barrett of the red corner, meaning worse in every way, and not doing nearly enough. And like, I don't think he's necessarily in danger anytime soon. But like, what relationships does this man have outside of Haley and Kamu? He barely has a relationship with the rest of the tool shed. I just feel like he's just waiting to be picked off. Lucky for him, he's a big dude who's shown that he can win comps before. So he's got some of that going for him. And if he didn't, I might have gone lower as well. But yeah, for me, it's a 4.
4 as well. You guys said it.
There you go. All right. What does the audience think? We all went 4. The audience says 5. Ooh. The audience still ahead of us.
Okay,
more
sure,
generous.
Audience. Wrong.
All right. You can see the season average as well start to very slowly drop as we continue to go through here. All right. So I'll start with D here then. D, I gave her a 9 last week. I really did not want to miss out on the setup. And what I learned was that, again, like in a maybe metaphorical sense, she memorized the opening moves and maybe it doesn't have. Now, that said, I do think that of all of the crossovers, D is still the best positioned player. And I mean that in many different ways. I think that within the crossovers, she's easily the best position. Angela, I think, thinks of her as her number 1. Devens thinks of her as his number 1. Barrett just made a final 2 with Drew, and feasibly might look at Devens. I don't know that Barrett looks at D as a number 1, but I don't think Barrett is I don't think that he's like not looking at D as a potential number 1 either. And then and then there's Drew, who I think looks at Devens as his number 1 in that group, or Barrett. But either way, she's still very, very locked in that group. She also has great relationships with the rest of Red Corner, with Kamu, with Chuck, with Haley, despite how much she doesn't like Haley. And she's also well positioned outside of that group. And I think of the people in this alliance, she's the person who is least impacted by the Lyric move, though I do still think she is impacted and could get caught if she has to campaign against Rome, or maybe she won't campaign against Rome. But if Lyric is like hoping for her vote and she can't give it, that could be a problem for D, but it's not quite a problem yet. So of everyone in this group, I am going to give D the highest rating, and I'm going to give her a 7.
Yeah, same. Just like you said, she's in the best position out of that whole group. And I feel like I have faith that she's strategic enough and has a good head on her shoulders that like, even if she's in a bad situation, she'll figure that out and hopefully move out of it. And maybe she's just kind of wrapped up right now in the big brother drama of it all and having fun with that. And then she'll realize, oh, actually I need to focus. And I will say something interesting. I just asked my mom, like, you know, what her and my dad were thinking. And they said, this is the best season. And they said they so look forward to watching. And my mom even said she started watching clips of the live feeds. That's how much she's loving this. And she says Dee gives great commentary. Dee is her favorite. She says Dee's so strategic and it's great, and that she's so much fun to watch. So I think she's going to get the power next week, or this week, because I feel like the casual people are really loving her. So I feel like she still has a good shot here, which is why I'm going to stick with the 7.
I've heard enough. Bring her on the roundtable next week.
I know, right? Yeah, she knows it now. She's a live feeder.
It's interesting to me because I do think for Dee, a poorly played week by Dee is still a better week played by most, and that really is how I feel about her. I also think that right now Dee just comes off winning HOH, having her reign, is chilling. Devens wins, so she's safe. She's passively watching. I do think there's a little bit of front row syndrome with Dee, where she's just grabbing popcorn and watching the chaos happen and loving every bit of it. I think the fact that she is not the de facto main person being targeted of the 3 vets or icons is silly. She should quite frankly be the main target. She is 3rd right now. She is 3 of 3. That's incredible. I will say the gameplay hasn't been good. I agree with that. I think some of the thoughts, some of the decisions, not been great. But I also, and this is all glaze, I want everyone to know on record, I am being very kind because I do believe what I'm saying. I think that on a moment's notice, if I could see anyone locking in and switching up their position, it's Dee. I genuinely do see that. And maybe this is because we've seen other footage of her that I have this within my ratings. 9 was a lot. Okay, 9 was a lot last week. But if the ceiling is D, which I genuinely, looking ahead, I think my ceiling is D as well. I think the 7 is apt here because I do not see anyone going above that for me. And again, it's a -2. You got to remember that it's a -2 from last week, so it's still a decent drop. It could have been a 6, but again, I'm a generous person.
Exactly.
Go
ahead.
Nope, you go, and then I'll go.
I do want to, I want to make it clear because I feel like, first of all, I've talked plenty about how silly I think it is for both Dee and Devens, for all of them to have been tricked by Lyric in the way that they were. I think this whole situation is silly. I think the idea of evicting Melody is silly. I think that, again, Dee is the person impacted the least by it, but I'm still down on her as a player for having bought into it so hard. And so that's why she's dropping so heavily from a 9 down to a 7. It might still seem like, oh, it's still a 7. And that's mostly just due to positioning, at least from my end.
Yeah. So the one thing I did want to say is that, like, my mom was not a Dee fan going into this season. So I feel like that's something to note. Like, she saw her on Survivor and I asked her about Dee because I didn't see Dee's season. And my mom was like, oh, she's so boring. I don't want her on the season. And now she loves her. So I feel like that's a good thing for Dee's chances in terms of getting any sort of fan votes or whatever. So something to note.
All right. Well, let's see what the audience thinks. Last week, the audience was an 8 for Dee. This week, down to a 6. The audience harder on Dee than us.
Yeesh.
First time.
By 2. Yeah, by a lot more.
Yeah, down from last week, down 2 from last week, and yes, one below us this week. So interesting stuff. I'm curious to see where things go with Devens. Melissa, what are your thoughts on Devens?
Not a great week for him. Now, to be fair, I love the fact that he was like, I'll make moves. I'm not afraid. I'll do whatever. I'll put whoever up. I love that sort of thing because that's what you want, is you want players who aren't afraid to make big moves. But at the same time, you want them to make smart, big moves. And I don't feel like this was a great week for him. I think, you know, like I've said before, the big meeting thing obviously didn't look good. The nominations and then the pulling Lyric down to put Rome up. It just, none of it makes sense. These are not good game moves. And I also feel like the fact that he believes that these deals or whatever that he's making will be upheld, that's not good. I think he's got, the alliance to back him up, and hopefully, maybe one of them wins HOH next week and all of this doesn't even matter, but it was not great. And I don't think that ultimately the right person will probably be going home this week. So, yeah, I'm going to give him a 5 because I think that the alliance will still be there for him. And so I hope that, like, even if he's in a dangerous situation next week, I don't think he'll go home. And also he has the potential to get one of these powers. So, let's see.
Okay. So with Devens, first of all, Devens is the type of player, you tell him after he comes out of the house that he got a -2 this week, but he got a 10 out of 10 for feeds content, he'll be happy. He will not care. And I think this week is very indicative of that for me, because it's been flames. It's been so much fun to watch. It's been very enjoyable. But this is the Devens I expected, right? This is the Devens of, like, we know he's capable. His rating last week speaks for itself. We know how he can play the game. He's very good socially. He has the strategic mind for the game. But sometimes he also loves to be chaotic. And I think this week got unnecessarily chaotic, and we put too many cards on the table. We could have kept some of them in our hands. We could have shelved some of them and kept them for later. Did not love those things. I think he is incredibly on the radar now. He is now also won HOH and Veto this week, having all the power and still being in a position where the showmans can live coming out of this week. I don't think that's good, especially when you decided that the crown jewel of your chaotic week is ousting the playboy of that showman's in Rome and putting him on full blast. He could still stay with Lyric come next week. Don't love that for him. I think that using it on Lyric, poor decision as well. I was very much coming in here thinking I'm gonna give him a 5, but I do think that given that he had the power on both sides and could still get the outcome that is not better for him, give him the 4.
Oh boy. I thought I was going to come in hot with the 4, and people were going to be like, "Oh, Taran, you're too hard.
We're in this together."
Too hard on Devens." I'm completely with you. I was also thinking it's 4 for Devens, not because his position is like the worst. Like I said, I think he's probably got a power coming his way. I think he's probably fine, but I think that his position could be exponentially better, and I think he's lost so much this week with almost nothing that he's gained. He's benefited a lot of other people at the expense of himself, even down to obviously the Lyric decision, which like could and should damage his relationship with Drew, which is one of the most valuable relationships he has in the game. Just poor decision making from Devens. I don't think it's going to cost him the game necessarily. I think that he's still got plenty of options, like I said. But if it does, he'll only have himself to blame. So 4 for me as well. What does the audience think about Devens? A 5. They agree with Melissa.
As always. I say that, and it's
right.
like all the previous ones, they did not agree with me, but that's fine. When it matters, they agree.
Looking at Devens at a 5, not a bad risky buy this week, potentially. We'll see where all the ratings go. He's a good risk. He could go either way.
Especially if he gets a power. Yeah, that could be. Although, what does he do with the power?
Yeah.
First of all, keep it to yourself. If you broadcast this to anybody, Devens, I swear. We'll see.
All right. Pooya, what do you think about Drew?
Oh, this is a hard one to go first on. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, first of all, the audience said Drew was, moving up to number 1. Here's the thing. I think Drew does have a lot of good qualities. For crying out loud, we came into this with a discussion of, is he like Dan? While we do not agree, there's definitely things we do see there. My main worry is that I'm supposed to sit here and be like, I think Drew is a very good player. I think he's social. I think he has a lot of people share with him, and that's good. He shares with people. That's good. But when I'm in a world where his own alliance can't trust him, like his closest allies can't trust him, that puts him in very shaky ground for me. And I don't know if I trust Drew to be able to get out of this spot. And it's not a spot that he's necessarily done anything to deserve. It's a spot that's been bestowed upon him. It's a tough one. It really is, because I do think he's one of the better players in the house currently. I do think his ceiling, there's a lot that could be reached there. He's a contender in my books, but I'm genuinely concerned. Is he going to be in a position where he somehow gets shanked in the next 2 weeks? And I could genuinely see that. It's tough. It's very tough. I'm teetering. I'm teetering with the very generous 6 or the baseline 5 for the reasons I've highlighted. But I'm just going to go ahead and say that because I said my ceiling was 7, and I do think he still is playing better than some of the other highlighted players, I think I'm going to give him a 6, even though that might be mighty generous. I'll give him a 6.
I think I have to do the 5 on Drew.
Yeah.
While there are plenty of things to like about Drew as a player, I think that he's giving like Judd. You know what I mean? Like there's just an impending doom that's approaching him that he still does not see coming. And at some point, because his position is sort of lightly understood by most of the house, somebody at some point, and it's probably going to be his own alliance, is going to go, it's time to cut Drew. And everyone's going to jump. It's going to, or, Matt, season 12, Matt, another, Matt Hoffman, another potential example of this. Like, we're going to do this. Drew is just like not insulated anywhere because his own alliance is looking at him funny, and that's so dangerous. So it's got to be a 5 from me.
Oh, go ahead, Pooya.
I was about to ask, is it still too soon to make a Game of Thrones reference without people being mad at spoilers? Do we think?
Like from the OG show?
Like from the real original?
Yeah.
It's been long
enough.
I
think you can say whatever you want about that.
I think Drew's gonna get Jon Snowed. You know what I mean? Like that's what's good. It's gonna be, this is for the tool shed stab. Like that's what's gonna happen to him, genuinely. Anyway, sorry.
I think that tracks. Melissa, what are your thoughts?
This is tough because I want to give him a higher rating. Honestly, I very much enjoy Drew. I think he's very fun to watch, and I really do hope he does well, but I'm very concerned about the way that even his own alliance is talking about him. And then the fact that he, had these various people that he was sort of working with, but now it's kind of like on edge. Like, I don't know about Melody. Melody might be going home either way. It's just, if the alliance turns on him, I don't know really where else he goes. That's like a very solid position for him at this point. So I am worried about him. I really do hope that, something good happens and he can pull it out. But right now I feel like I do have to give him the 5. But that's a hopeful 5.
All right. What does the audience think of Drew? They gave him a 6. They agree with Pooya. 6 he will be.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about Haley, who received straight 2s last week from the panel. The audience gave her a 3. I mean, really, without Haley having done much herself, her position in the game has dramatically improved. Now, is that saying much, considering she was down at a 2?
Right.
Not entirely, but a lot of things went really well for Haley here. A lot more targets available. People have kind of softened on her a little bit, though not by much. Her alliance is deeper in power. And this whole Drew thing is actually phenomenal for players like her, because otherwise the crossovers would just run the table. But if they're more concerned with Drew than they are with Haley, that's pretty great. So, I'm really, do I think Haley's going to win this game? It's not looking great right now.
No.
She's still not well liked. I do still think that somebody like Chuck is like in a better spot than her in terms of like I guess winning. I'm going to give her a 3. I'm going to give her a 3. Melissa, what are you at?
Yeah.
I think 3 as well, because I feel like she's in a better spot than last week, where last week we were like, yeah, she's out next, but I don't feel like she's in a good spot. So it's a 3. We'll see what happens.
Well, when the bar was in hell last week, when she was a 2 and it's nowhere but up, you're in a very interesting spot, because I do think it's improved upon last week. Not saying much, but I do think that, to your point, the whole thing, the idea that someone like Drew could be seen as suspicious. One thing about Haley is everyone knows where her motivations are. Like, we're talking people's cards are on the table. She could probably not be more so clear where her head is at. And I feel like that is someone that could go far. I think that for her, Rome leaving is huge. Probably, one of the biggest beneficiaries from a Rome exit would be Haley. It's just the one thing that's bugging me out is the idea that I'm about to give her the same rating I did Devens. Like, that is wild to me. It's for different reasons. But I think I'm gonna give Haley a 4, which means she has 100% improved on what she got last week, which is weird. But here we are.
All right. Well, let's see if the audience agrees more with Melissa and I or Pooya. The audience gave Haley a 4. They're with Pooya.
Oh, hello, audience. It's us.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Look at that. All right, let's start talking about Jason then. Melissa, what are your thoughts on Jason?
Well, what's very interesting is that my mom says that she did not like that Jason was mean to Angela. And if you'll recall, my mom and dad were the ones that said that Angela should be thrown in the volcano with Rachel. So I think that they have come around on it, Angela. I'm not really sure, but they basically were like, we didn't like that he was being mean to her. So that's important to note in terms of voting. But yeah, I don't know about Jason. I think he handled the Angela confrontation pretty well. Because that could have gone a whole other way. And I think like the fact that he was kind of able to turn it around and be like, look, like, I'm just really messy. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, sorry, is kind of a good thing. At the same time, he's still on the block. He could potentially go home. I don't fully know, especially like if they lose someone from that side of the house, quote unquote, it's like, okay, well then where did they go from there? Where does Jason go after this? So I'm not so sure. I think he's in a worse spot than last week. So I guess I kind of have to do, I'll probably have to do a 2 because now he's on the block and could go home. And we'll see.
All right. Pooya.
It's tough because, well, first of all, I do think Jason's in a worse spot this week than last week. That's for sure. I think Jason's done himself no favors initially, but I do think some of the cleanup has been decent. I still don't think Jason's in a great spot. In fact, I would go as far as to say, if the other side wins power, guess who I think is guaranteed a spot on the block every week for the next 3 weeks? It's Jason. I don't think that's a good spot to be in at all. I don't even, whether you're tertiary on the target list or the pawn, I still don't love you in that spot whatsoever. I don't know. I think Jason might be the person who's gotten the least likely edit to get votes for the time capsule, despite being someone who I think is basically icon adjacent, because you should be on the icon list because you were from another show. I think Jason's not getting a favorable edit there either. So I'm a little bit nervous about Jason. And I think given that last week Jason was sitting on a 4, I think I'm going to go ahead and give Jason a 3. I think if things were a little messier with Jason, I would give Jason the 2. But the fact that Rome is ahead of Jason and the melody stuff and the Drew stuff is in the air, I think that benefits him at least a little bit.
I have to agree with Melissa here. I think a 2 for Jason. I'd almost be inclined to give him a 1 just because I don't think he should be in this position at all. He should not be on the block. His spot should not have been blown up, and that's largely due to his own screw-ups. And in addition to that, I think the target on his back is so big in large part because of how close he's been coming in competitions. There's a very high chance he leaves this week if Rome wins the blockbuster. And even if he doesn't, because of the damage that's been done to his social and strategic game, I could see him being thrown up on the block as the as the person that we need to put up there to beat our real target in the blockbuster kind of thing, right? So like, I just think Jason has a long way, a large hill to climb to get back to a good position in the game, in my opinion. And that's if he survives the week. But I have a feeling the audience is going to be more with Pooya. And they are. They gave him a 3.
Stop it, Pooya. They're mine.
Lockstep.
Hey,
They're mine.
hey.
You cannot take them from me.
You're the voice of the people. I could be the rating of the people. That's available. That's mine now.
That's true. Yeah, we've got what, the finger of the people and the voice of the people, and now we've got the rating of the people.
All right, let's see if Pooya can hold on to it. Let's talk about Camus.
All right. It's at this point that I would like to enter a rant a little bit. So last week, I was on stream on Thursday. The eviction episode was due to go live in like 4 minutes. I realized I have not set up my Stockwatch account for the season yet. So I tried to hop in, and then I hopped in and I signed in using my Twitter, which I always, every season I forget. Did I sign in with Twitter or did I sign in with my email? Because I've done both, but one of them I don't use. I've used it for like one season accidentally. So I signed in with my Twitter. It was the wrong account. So then I panicked. I was like, let me get my email going. And the website wouldn't load. It timed me out. And I didn't get to put my ratings.
Slow right at the start of the episode.
It did.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's on me because I shouldn't have waited that long. Now, that being said, I was about to go all in on Camus. That was my plan. I thought 4 could be a good spot, a good place to be. I think it's interesting with Camus because I think of the red corner, even last week, I liked his positioning the best. I think this week it's only been more of that. I think Camus also benefits from a lot of people around him within the tool shed, having not necessarily infighting, but kind of looking at each other a little sideways. I think that's not great. I think it benefits him. I think the fact that you are seen as the more reasonable person in your trio is also good because I think that means conversations will come through you. I think when people see you as a 3, but then want to make deals with the 3 or want to navigate around the 3 and they come to you, I think that's also a good spot to be in. I think there's still a lot of game he needs to play for me to like think of him as an end game player or a real contender. But I think in a week where a lot of people have shown themselves to play poorly, I think the activity from Camus has been good. And just to also co-sign what Taran said earlier, I think Camus has said some not so good things in this house, things that I would never endorse and never back. But I think that the ratings earlier should prove that he moved up because he's been actively playing and because he's got a little bit of good game sense socially, even though sometimes I think he talks in circles. I especially really liked Taran. I don't remember which update it was that you did, but it was him talking to D. And he talks around so much that D will just be like, yeah, that thing. And he's like, I was about to say that, but yes, that's what I meant. Like he gets all of his points stolen because he takes forever to get them out there. I think I'm going to give him a 6, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're in lockstep with me, Pooya, because I was also going to give Camus a 6 this week. Honestly, I would even consider a 7 if there wasn't like a bunch of information he still needs to learn, primarily the like if the crossovers didn't exist, I think Camus would be in an incredibly great position. Because the crossovers exist, he's not in as good a position. However, there's 2 things that are working in his favor in terms of that. One is that he's got a really great relationship with Drew now developing. And 2, Drew also happens to be the person that the crossovers are actively pushing out. So like he is perfectly primed for a crossover blow up that he comes out the better for. In addition to that, he's got great relationships with people outside of the Alliance, unlike his 2 shields, Haley and Chuck. So things are looking pretty good. It does feel like, though, that things could flip on a dime at any moment. Like if he touches the block, you start to go, are we going to get another chance?
Right.
And so who knows what'll happen there. But yeah, 6 for me.
Yeah. I feel similarly. I think he's in a much better spot than he was last week. I think it's it's like the Chuck and Haley thing is good for him, but also bad for him. It's good for him. And like you said, he's got these shields there that like could potentially be taken out in front of him or, win power and keep him safe. But being associated with them, I feel like is not so great for him because they feel like a voting block. And it's like, okay, we got to break them up somehow. Now he's got, the vets also there. It starts to get, sometimes it can be seen as a good thing and sometimes it can be seen as a bad thing. And so I am a little worried about where he goes from here, depending on like who wins power. And I'm debating honestly whether to go up to a 5 or a 6. 5 because I was at a 3 last week, and so it feels like kind of insane to go up to a 6. But I do feel like he played this week pretty well. I do think that he's smart and has a much better read on the game than like some of the other people that he's working with. So I feel like that's good for him. And the fact that he's developing like relationships outside of just like Haley and Chuck. Yeah, I'll go with the 6. I'll do it. We'll see what happens.
666 is
Ooh.
Kamu's number. What does the audience think? A 6 as well. Straight
Whoa.
6s. There you go.
All right.
All right, let's move on then to Lala. Let's talk about Lala. Man, we gave Lala. I gave Lala a 5. The panel, Melissa and Asia gave her 4s. The audience was a 5 on Lala last week. Man, I feel like there's potential here, but it's not yet realized. I think that she was in a spot where she had this Mama's Angels thing with Rome and Jason. She had Taylor. She was like, in a spot where if that side did well, she'd be well positioned. That whole thing's blown up. And now she's sort of wiser for it, but also still doesn't have any real connection to the other side, the side that is currently running things right now. However, she is developing a relationship with Angela, and Angela's already expressed a desire to work with her. I think there's a world where if that develops, Lala could get into a better position. But for right now, it's not quite there yet. And her game is still sort of in the midst of a blow up. So I'm going to have to go down to a 4 this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go down to a 3. I have not been very impressed with her. And the whole like crying thing with the Rome thing, it all just like makes her look kind of bad. I don't know. I just don't feel like it. She's got that game in her. I don't know. I'm worried about her and I'm kind of disappointed. I feel like I thought she had a lot more fire in her. And I felt like I thought that she would be more strategic than she is. And I've just been disappointed. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, 3 for now.
Not where I expected Lala to be at all 2 weeks into the season based on what we had learned about her. I thought her personality would shine on through and she'd be in a great spot. That's not the case. Now, I do like what you said about potential untapped potential here, Taran, where I see Lala being someone that if you're playing the Stockwatch, you keep you are like, is this the week I buy her and she improves by like 2-3 scores? Is this the week? It's a very risky one. Like you can go all in hopes of like catching up with someone who made the best by week 1 or 2. But I think I co-sign what Melissa said with the rating. I think I'm also going to go with 3 here. I genuinely do think though, this 3 isn't unlike Jason, where I feel like I'm giving Jason an active minus. This to me weirdly almost feels like I'm giving her a plus because I do see it going. It could go up. There's a possibility, but right now the positioning is so tough that I don't see it moving, but we'll see.
All right. Well, the audience says a 4. They agree with me. Look at that. Look at that. They agree with me.
I'm trying to steal the audience from me. Okay. Like I was the rating of the people. We were having fun 2 ratings ago.
Yeah. It's all over. They turn on you so fast, isn't it? It's
I
very
know.
harsh.
All right. Well,
Doesn't feel
let's talk
good,
about
huh?
Lyric. Let's talk about Lyric. Melissa, what are your thoughts on Lyric this week?
I mean, Lyric is now off the blog. She was saved. Great for her. The fact that Dee and Devens felt like they could talk with her and share things with her and be open with her. It's very good for her. I mean, I don't know. She gave them no reason to think that would be a good idea. So I don't know what. There's potential negative for her this week in that it's possible that Rome goes home. It's possible that Melody goes home, and those are two potential allies for her in the house. And so that is concerning. But the fact that she is safe, and honestly, I feel like if Rome goes, I honestly think she would be in a better spot. I feel like she would be targeted less. There would be less of a fear about her, and I think people want to pull her in. That's why I'm like, I want to go high. I want to give her a better score than I did last week, because I do think that the fact that she was able to get pulled off the block is a good thing. But if Rome leaves or if Rome sticks around, I feel like there's trouble for her, because once again, she'll be put up on the block with Rome to try and get him out. Because they'll be like, okay, well, we need, Rome to not use the veto or to use the veto on Lyric or whatever. And so I know I'm like vacillating here and just keep chatting, but I'm pulling him on, I guess. But this is a tough one. I think I'm going to give her, I gave her a 5 last week. I think I'm going to give her a 6 this week, because I do think that the fact that she was able to convince them that they are broken up and all this other stuff is very impressive. But I don't know if I see this as a lasting 6, but we'll see.
I like to, because I'm not here every week, I like to think that Asia's scores are my scores from last week, so I'm going to work on those. I think ultimately the fact that she made it off the block today is ridiculous. Like, that should not have worked. The fact that it did work is wild. Now, how much they believe it or not, I don't care. They took her off the block. For whatever reason, they want to get rid of the showmans, split up the showmans. They made it so that one comp could make it, none of them leave, which I think is not good. I think the 6 is apt if she was in a better position. I think for me, I would want to give her a high score to reward the quote unquote misting, the play she did this week to get off the block. I think that was phenomenal, but I think the positioning is not great for me. I think if Rome leaves, I really like her as a buy for the down the line. I think she could genuinely be safe for a little bit. At least that's how I'm seeing it right now. Because I don't think this mist is made to last, especially with what I'm hearing and seeing these two say to each other while we've been on this podcast. Rome has said, Lyric, housewife would look good on you. Not ready for whatever the update's going to look like tomorrow, Taran, for the reenactment there, because yikes. I don't think this mist lasts, y'all. So if Rome and Lyric both survive, I think Rome and Lyric will survive on the block next to each other again. And this time with none of this mist working. So it's a 5 from me.
All right. Here we go. All right. Well, how do I feel about Lyric? I was thinking about this. And first of all, very impressed that she managed to convince 2 veterans of social strategy games that she was broken up with a man that she was like heavily making out with like that same night. Managed to convince both of those veterans and more to take her off the block in a spot that made no sense to do so. And quite frankly, I actually don't hate her position moving forward from here. I don't think anybody's going to want to take a shot at Lyric. Who is thinking about Lyric right now? If Rome leaves, great. If he stays, are you going to put her up on the block next to him again? Like you're just going to do it? Or like, what about the goodwill that you feel that you bought? Angela feels she has goodwill with Lyric. Dee feels she has goodwill with Lyric. Devens feels he has goodwill with Lyric. Plus the fact that, that he will be the target in front of her. Now, that said, of course, he could win another blockbuster, and then they could finally, at that point, be like, okay, we need to weaken Rome by taking out Lyric, or whatever the case may be. But I actually think that Lyric is kind of fine moving forward. I think there are potentially bigger targets, especially if Rome leaves, and then she can work with some of the remaining people from that side while still maintaining these connections to D and Devens or whatever. It would hopefully mean her head is back in the game. And quite frankly, I want to reward her heavily for what I thought was a really great play. I have to reward it when I see it. And listen, sometimes, despite the complaints, we don't all rate the same. I'm going to give her a 7.
Oof.
Ooh, is a big gift.
How does the audience feel, though? I doubt they're with me here. I think the audience, I think they're most likely to agree. Oh, it's definitely between a 5 and a 6. Let's find out.
Yeah.
Audience says 6.
That's
No, 5.
no, they said 5.
Yeah, sorry,
The average is 6.
that was Melissa.
Yeah, well, I would have loved if they would have gone with me, but I also won because I said they'd go with Pooya. So technically, I also won.
Oh, it's like I said this, but I bet on his number, so we
Yeah,
both
exactly.
win.
So it's like we all win.
I think
in
that
the
means
end,
I
really.
win. I think that I come out the winner there.
Does it? Oh, okay.
All right. Let's then talk about Mallory. Not Melody, but Mallory. Pooya, how you feeling about Mallory?
I mean, better-ish than last week, but again, that's not saying much. I'm actually quite perplexed. I'm in a very weird spot here because I think last week's Mallory rating is very generous. Not that I think she should have been like punished or anything, but I think she's in an okay spot right now. But I don't have much to add. Does that mean I really don't have much to say here on this?
She hasn't changed much.
Yeah, I'm gonna give her a 4. What's a good? Yeah, I'm gonna give her a 4. That's all I got for you.
A 4. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, unfortunately. I think she's got promise as a player, but she, like everyone she talks to is ratting her out at every second of the day. And unfortunately, the people she's going after, or the people she should be going after, she's voicing it too much. And really, she should be a backup target for the vets this week, considering she's one of the few people that would be willing to actually take that shot. And I think that she would be a target next week. I think she's on the block with Jason or Rome if that side wins again, because of just where she's angled herself. And so for now, I think it's a 4, though I do think there's potential to go up eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with what you guys are saying. It's a 4 for me as well. I want to see her do more and see, her in a better spot, but I just don't know.
All right. Does the audience agree with us? They don't. They say she's higher. They say she's a 5.
All right.
I think she's too much of a target for a 5, personally. That's what I think.
For me, it's tough, especially when I look at who else I've given a 5 to. It just didn't make sense for her to have the same rating.
Yeah, like, okay, Drew and Barrett are 5s and Devens, and then I'm going to give her a 5. No, can't happen.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Melody then. Currently on the block, and not impossible that she gets sent out here. I don't know. It's not impossible. And I mean, in this instance, she's done a decent job of campaigning, but she did put herself in this position in many different ways, including that HOH snafu that was not in the episode, unfortunately, so will not be like logged into historic record. But yeah, just not great stuff here. I think that she's obviously better positioned than Jason to survive. She did less to put herself in this position than Jason did, though she still put herself in quite the predicament. I think I'll go with a 3 for Melody. Do not assume she is safe this week. I really do not think that is the case. I think there's a very real chance the vote ends up flipping on her, but for right now, she is the safest.
Yeah, I'm going to give her a 3 as well. I truly do hope she stays because I feel like she is an interesting player to watch. I think that she has a good head on her shoulders, and I think she could do some good things in the game, and she is a gamer, but I just don't think she's in a good spot, and I feel like she's trusting the wrong people, and I wish she was in a better position, but we'll see if she lasts.
Probably the person who most suffered from Lyric's Gambit working. Honestly, Melody should have been removed off the block today, and that did not happen. Melody is on the block, and I genuinely, with the amount of overthinking and overplaying we are doing with some of this Drew stuff, Melody could very well be the one that leaves on Thursday. Like, there's a legitimate chance that happens, which is just a little bit unfathomable to me. Melody's so interesting to me because I do see a lot of good qualities in her as a player. I just feel like there are so many little traps she's falling into that by the time she might not even have time to get out of them for us to see her play the game the way I think she could. I do think she's a player who can pick it up, though. I do see her being a player that could eventually get to the other side. She just needs a little luck. And by that, I mean some other people on the block or other people being looked at and a week to really like figure some stuff out. But I mean, it's not going to go over a 4, quite frankly. I could just go with the 3, but I feel like I'm going to give her a 4 on this one.
All right. Well, does the audience agree with Pooya on this one? They do. It's a 4 from the audience. Pooya's just farming audience similarity at this point.
Is that what I'm just like gambling. I'm like, what do I think the audience would go with? Let me just bet on that.
3 is definitely too low for a fan fave like her. I'm going a 4. All right. Let's then move on to Rome. Melissa, what are your thoughts on prime target Rome?
So this one's a little tricky because, we've got the, I keep trying to call it a buyback. What is it? Battle block, whatever. Doesn't matter. Block bottle, a block bottle. I think he could really win that. Number one. Number two, the fact that Lyric is no longer in the block means that he doesn't have to worry about the showmance getting broken up. And I mean, if it gets broken up, he goes home, but there's a possibility that it doesn't. Now, he's target number 1. There was that big meeting without him. He's not being included in things. I don't feel like he fully capitalized on the fact that there was that meeting without him. I think that there is the potential that maybe he could have gone around to people and been like, look, like there was a big alliance meeting where they were forming a big group and we were not a part of it. Like, let's figure out something we can do. Save me this week, or we need to find a way to save me this week. And then we will, figure out something next week and hope we win power, whatever. Like just trying to do something. And I feel like he understood that there was a big alliance forming and a big meeting was happening and that was not good. But then I don't feel like anything really like came of that. It was not a good week for him. Being backdoored especially is not good. And the odds are, if he loses this block bottle, whatever, he's gonna go home. And it's just, and then I don't see what happens when he stays. Like, where does he go from here? Does he just continue being a target or what? He would need to win power. So all that to say, do I think he could have avoided the block this week? Like, do I think that he could have done something different to avoid the block? And that's a tough question. Do you guys think he could have done anything different?
I don't think he could have avoided the block, but I think there are things he could have done to prevent the damage from being done to his game that was done to his game by Devens by outing his boiled down list.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'll give him a 2. I think he's probably going to go home. I mean, if he doesn't go home, where does he go from here? I feel like he would still be a target. I hope, for drama's sake, that this is a 2 that then gets translated into something else because he stays and is able to form something. But I just don't know.
I think that's a good rating to give him. I think at this point he is in a win or go home scenario. And whilst I think it is great that he's in a position where both him and his showmans could stay, if he wins, that's too much to land on if he wins for me to see it at anything more than a 2. I do think it was avoidable. I do think, but I also kind of can't give him a 1 and could potentially give him a 3 because in what world, why are we even in a world where there is a game plan being executed, which is, hey, if you stay, just remember that I saved your girl. why is that even a thing we're doing? Why are we kowtowing to the house target? That I can't fathom, and I want to give him a little more credit for that than anything. But I think ultimately, if I'm being honest, that would just make it a 2+ or a 2-star, not a 3. It's still a 2 for me.
I agree with the both of you. He's the most likely evictee. He made a rookie mistake giving Devens his list of people, and he's got to win this blockbuster. And even if he does, his game has been pretty heavily damaged. The audience, I assume, gave him a 3. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
There you go.
Okay. Let's talk about Taylor. Just 2 more people. Taylor and Yash left to go. And it's going to be Pooya. How do you feel about Taylor?
Once again, I'm at a position where I'm looking at the rating from last week and I'm like, was Taylor given a very generous score? Taylor, I think, is someone who could be on the rise, I think Taylor's someone who was always going to be a player that if you let her get out of the block week 1, could go into the background and in the background start culminating relationships. So I think Taylor, ironically enough, I want to give her a similar rating to what she already had. We're teetering on a 4.3 here, but I think it's a healthier 4.3 than last week's 4.3. If I can try and just explain myself there. But I'm gonna, for the same reason why I didn't have much to say on Mallory, I think I'm just gonna give her a 4 and keep watch on her, because I genuinely don't know how I feel about her game right now. I think there's room to grow. I think there's room to lose, but I think she's a lot more neutral than a lot of other people who I have stronger opinions on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Devens gave her new life in the game by not renominating her in a spot where he very well could have. And I don't know that she's taken full advantage of that. I don't like that she's not really branching out as much as she probably should. That said, she does have her head on straight better than most people. She has a great read on the house, which tends to be the case when you have an outside perspective. I just wish there were more that she were doing with it. And so, I think there's a lot of potential here. It's currently unrealized, but this is an improvement from last week, certainly. And I think that you leave her alone for too long, you let these factions go at war, nobody's looking to target her anytime soon. So I feel like a 4 is apt.
Yeah, same here. 4 for me as well. And I could see her moving up, but we'll see.
Does the audience agree with us? I feel like they might. It's a 4. There it is.
Nice.
All right. And finally, Yash, who also had a massive boon to his game given to him by Devens, currently just telling everybody what they want to hear. I don't think he's done quite enough to avoid being in a spot similar to what I said about Jason, where throw Yash on the block if you want somebody to win a blockbuster against your target, because there's nobody that's going to raise a fuss. And the fact that it's an open secret that people think he's only really capable of working with men is a bad opinion to be for people to have about you in the house. So I don't love that for Yash. Ultimately, he just hasn't really made any good progress yet. I'd like to see him maybe win some comps other than just the blockbuster moving forward. Maybe get a little power, although I'm certainly not very I don't have a lot of faith in what he might do with that power. So I'm going to go, I'm considering a 4 just because, he's not really a target right now, but he's such an easy target for a house that is made a truce. The spot where Rome goes out and the majority wins power again, it's like, who are they going after now? Maybe Melody, maybe Mallory, and maybe Yash. So I think I do have to go 3 here for Yash.
Yeah, same. He's not on the block. Last week he was on the block, so I gave him a 2. This week he's not on the block, so I guess that's good. But I don't really see his position getting that much better, or even avoiding the block in a future week or setting himself up for a good next week. So yeah, he's a 3 for me as well.
I have worked very hard when on the podcast and on the network to maintain a level of professionalism. And what I mean by that is being fair and being honest, even if I don't like a player, giving them their fair dues and an analysis. Now, I've been spending the entire Stockwatch thinking, am I just going to be a hater and be honest about how I don't like this man and give him like a 1? I'm not going to do that ultimately. A lot of his comments this week have been disheartening to hear. It grinds my gears to no end. I don't need to get on a soapbox here, but this idea that men and women can't be friends is stupid. I think that stuff is dumb. We don't need to get into it. We can all just agree. And then also, when you are a young man in the Big Brother house that is athletic, you come in with what I'd like to call muscle privileges. You come in with something that a lot of people may not be given. Just because you look a certain way, they're like, you know what, he can carry. Let's bring him in. The fact that he's done nothing with that is annoying and is bad. And also, I said this week 1. I'm gonna say it again. I don't like his haircut. It really irks me. I really hate this like weird mullet thing he has going on. And that's just me saying personally, I don't like it. I'm not rating him based on that, but I'm gonna give him a 2. That's my feeling.
A 2. All right. I think the audience is gonna go 3 here. That's my guess.
Please, audience, ride
There
with
they
me.
are.
No,
There they
audience, we're so close. It's fine.
Not with Pooya on that one. All right. Those are the scores for the week. Here they are in all their glory. The season average has dropped a bit. I think it was a 4.885 last week. But what this does mean, of course, is that it is still ahead of season 27 to this point, as well as season 26, as well as season 25. So we're doing pretty well still. Doing pretty well. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Season 24 actually had a higher average to this point. So
Wow.
who knew?
Interesting.
Who knew? Who's carrying this? Kyle, Michael, Nicole. Wow, look at that. Amira and Alyssa. Oh, they're in for
That's
reckoning.
so funny that 2 of those 5 do not survive the next like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There's quite a turnaround that's about to happen for them.
Yup.
All right. I also have let me see here. I've got this little guy. This is going to help us in the future. This is tracking the ratings over time. So if I just I need to unzoom
that's cool.
a
It
little
says
bit here.
biggest drop, most improved, most consistent. That's fun.
Oh,
Yes.
sick. I like that.
That's
So this
very
is
cool.
this is ranking them according to their rating, if that makes sense. So like D has the highest rating, therefore she is in the
Very
first
cool.
spot, followed by Kamu this week, who rose dramatically from his week last time. So this will be another fun thing to sort of track throughout the season as we watch the Stockwatch ratings line over the course. Another fun thing to do with this is that you can track the ratings compared to the favorite rankings and see how much they correlate, because they do tend to correlate. All right.
Stockwatch getting nerdier. I love it. Also, I did like that because obviously usually when the person who's the house target will get like 1s or 2s, they fall to the bottom. Interesting to me that the second biggest drop is Barrett. Barrett, step your game up. I know you're better than this.
Yeah. Yeah, Barrett dropping 4 spots in the ranking there in terms of his drop. Yeah, but that's it. That's what we got for the Stockwatch. And this is what we got for the week. You know, an interesting thing to do here. Interesting sort of situation. The steamroll situation being confounded by some interesting decisions being made. And I think we're all still enjoying the season, right? Like this is still fun.
Oh yeah.
I would much prefer to have this weird chaos thing than to have a steamroll. So this is much preferred. As weird as it is as much as we're like, what? It's much better than a steamroll.
When we are logging on to say, I am frustrated by these game moves, that is a good emotion to have for me versus it's not, I am frustrated because these are the worst people to have ever existed and they're playing the game I love. Like, that's not what we're doing.
Yeah,
I think
being
that's
bored.
good. Exactly. It's not boring. It's messy. Some nights are like you're staying up all like even longer than you anticipated for them. We're riding a high right now, I think. And I think honestly, Angela getting a punishment and not a time capsule power is also great for the future of this season.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
I would much prefer them to just get random punishments than to get powers. So like, yeah, that's great.
Chad is asking, Melissa, did you? I assume you didn't. Did you buy anything in the
I
Stockwatch?
did not. I did
Yeah,
not.
I didn't. I think Melissa and I stopped playing ages ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I just was so bad at it, number one, but then also being bad and also getting accused of like fixing the system because am also rating was like, okay, I can't win here. I'm out.
Listen, we don't work for the government. You have more integrity than that.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I didn't do it.
Melissa, I don't think you were bad at it. I think your method was because everyone does the thing of they put all their eggs in one basket per week.
Mhm.
You diversify every time, and then it
Yes.
makes your gains very small compared to like
Yes.
you go all in on one and hope they go from like a 6 to an 8, you know?
That's true. I have a very diverse portfolio because I'm very scared. And so that's the way I do it. And obviously it doesn't work for me. So I just figured I'm out.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then this week on the Roundtable. Thank you all so much for joining us. I think we had a lot of fun here. I'll be back, of course, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that has happened and will happen today on the Big Brother 28 live feeds. I'm also doing the mailbag with Rob for probably patrons of the podcast. I don't know if that will be released publicly again, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Rob came up with a format that is somewhat similar to Stockwatch, but interestingly different. So you guys here in particular might be interested in that. And of course, check out my Patreon, where I'm doing all kinds of Big Brother live streaming with the feeds and also covering other shows. I'm dropping the Traders UK season 1 right now, going through and watching that season, and also watching Bloody Game, which is a fun one. Yes.
Bloody Game?
Bloody Game. Yeah, it's a Korean show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not heard of that.
And have you watched Traders UK season 1 before as your first watch?
First watch of season 1. Yeah.
Snap. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. So it's been interesting. It's been interesting. Pooya, what do you got going on?
Well, right now I'm in the midst of basically Big Brother is everything I'm doing for the most part. So find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. I'm there watching feeds, talking feeds, doing some other stuff as well. All socials at Pooyaism for anything I'm posting there. Find me in the chat BCC. I'm in there as active as well. And then speaking of Traders, in about 2 weeks, Traders Australia season 3 drops, and myself and Annabelle will be there for the reboot. We're very excited about that. Should be good. Leon and I will be recording the PAL this week on a bit of a delay, so don't worry. I'm going to make her sort everyone into what tool they are for the tool shed. That's still coming up. We're still going to do that. And 90 Day Fiance, Hot Mess Express. Check that out.
There you go. Of course, you can find Melissa at It's Melissa. Oh, 3Ace.
Should I start twitching? Is that the verb? I
Twitching
in the chat, but should I start twitching, watching feeds? Because that is something that I do. I was thinking like, I don't have an angle. I don't like, people are like, go on Twitch. I'm like, to do what? Like, be it with my son or something, but maybe I should Twitch feeds, me watching feeds.
Give it a try.
Yeah.
Worst case is you don't like it or it's not for you, right? But just give it a shot. Why not?
I think people would love watching you on Twitch.
Callan's sitting on my lap. We're watching
especially
the feeds
if you had him. Yeah.
He was watching this. He was watching feeds with me yesterday, and he was pointing out people. He'd go, people. I was like, yeah, the people. And then he thought Devens was Dennis, my husband. So he kept saying, hi, daddy. And then when he'd leave the room, he'd go, bye, daddy. And I was like,
wow, he really is America's
Dennis.
dad, huh?
And he was like, that is not him.
Boy,
like,
all right.
Daddy.
Well, stay on the lookout for an upcoming. Make sure you get the Twitch name as soon as you can, because
I think I have it. It's Melissa with 3
okay, there you go.
I'll check though. Oh my god, maybe it's Melissa. Duh. Okay, I'll have to check.
All right. Well, stay on the lookout for that. Thank you all so much for joining us here tonight, and we will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.